Hi guys, it's me, Carrie Silver Lining Mena, and I'm feeling nervous right now. I don't know why. Maybe I'm always nervous. I'm just noticing it this time. But on this episode of Silver Linings, I have kind of like a couple things to share. And the first part is kind of wrapping up, not necessarily last week's or the last episode so much as the last like lesson, the whole surrender of, there was so many lessons learned through my experience with Jesse. It wasn't just how I was meant to let go of expectations put on me by either others or myself. That was one of them. Another one was the way in which I would internalize everything and believe that everything was my fault. I was the yucky one, whatever. I was the one that needed work. I was the one that was wrong. I was the one that, I believed it was me. And another one was learning to be able to have my voice and speak out when something doesn't feel right. Another one is learning how to say no, even when it goes against all of the, not necessarily, for me, it was clues kind of. It was also clues, but it was also just my environment, my atmosphere, my peers. And, I compared my relationship to him a lot with sex traumas. And that was because this life is so connected to that life in the brothel. It's like I like confuse them and mix them up. And in that last video I did, I don't know how many other things I learned from that, but I don't need to count. There were plenty, but this is one of the other things that I learned. And I didn't even realize it when I did that last video. It wasn't until I watched it a few times. I watched that one a lot. I watched it a lot before because I needed to make sure it was the right thing to do. And then I watched it again afterwards because I kind of like to see it in the perspective. I pretend like I'm this person or that person and try to imagine how they might see it based on my filter of how they see the world or whatever. So another thing that I learned while watching that was, remember that part? I watched it so many times, I have my own dialogue memorized. And I said, Mama, love me more, saying this to Heather, kind of. It was like my representation. Love me more than you feel the need to be nice to these men. And in my mind, because it was so confused still, I'm getting it confused with the brothel and maybe the madam. I don't know. But I don't even know, because I was still sorting, but it fell into place afterwards, just a few days ago. And what I realized was every time I'd watch that part, Mama, love me more than you feel the need to be nice to this guy that's your acquaintance, is what I said. And I had a memory of my mom and me sitting on the coffee table, and my parents were divorced. They split when I was 7, but I was still pretty young. So maybe I was just 7, maybe 8. Anyway, I was little, less than 10, definitely less than 10, because that's when my brother was born. But my mom, and I didn't even really realize this. I kind of knew it, but until you repeat the pattern or have a trigger later on in your healing journey, you don't realize how much it affected you the first time around. And my mom had like many men in her life, therefore many men in my life. And I'm not necessarily condemning her for that, because, I've made no secret that I had plenty too. Of course, in my case, I was a young girl, I was a teenager, and I didn't have a daughter with whom I was choosing these men over. And I remember sitting on this coffee table with my mom, and she was dating some guy. I don't remember who this one was, but he was sitting on the chair in front of us, just like like a lounger chair or whatever. I don't know. And I don't know what he said. I think he was trying to make nice to me, but I just had such a yucky feeling. I was little, but I knew they were dating. I don't know all the, the dynamics of what went into dating, but I knew enough. And maybe it was like so fresh after my parents split. Maybe that's what it was. But I remember like pushing her, and the coffee table was kind of slick, and I just pushed her right onto the floor. And I can't believe she let me do that, for one thing. And for another thing, I know she was like putting on a show about what a nice mama she was. Because if I had tried that shit any other day, I would have got slapped for it. So as it was, she just kind of giggled and made nice and tried to, I don't even know. I was little. But my mom, I don't fault her. If she's having a lot of men, it's because she has a hole in her heart too. I get that. But I really did always feel second best. She went so far as to date my married teacher when I was in sixth grade, and his wife was, we'd go on field trips and stuff, and his wife would be there, and she'd always be asking me questions. Very, very nice to me. But it wasn't until later that I realized why she took such an interest in me. My mom also dated my gymnastics coach, and she totally used this man, I feel like, to pick me up from school, take me to his house. And then when, gymnastics class would start, take me to the gym, and then she'd meet after work. And if they were like in a more serious relationship and he wanted to take an active role in taking care of me, that would be one thing. But I never felt like not that he was mean to me or ugly to me. He worked with kids, so he was kind to kids, but it felt like I was a chore to him. So I always felt like second best. So when I'm making that plea to Heather and saying, please choose me over him, it's me truly saying to my mom, please love me more than you need to entertain him, please. And that I realized is where that whole second best came from. And I don't know if I was necessarily a secret, but I was unimportant. I didn't have the voice. I didn't matter. So, and I really believed I healed from my mama issues through my relationship with Allison. But I realize now that I healed from my adult issues with my mom through Allison, not realizing that I had this little 7 or 8 year old wound, or, 7 or 8 year old girl wound inside of me. So that really, really was a significant healing moment for me. So Jesse provided that too. It wasn't even anything that I knew I needed healing from. And it doesn't necessarily, fit with his profile necessarily, but somehow he still represented the men that my mom dated. Maybe it was because like in the brothel, the madam would schmooze with the men. Maybe that was it. Maybe, because of her job, she was friendly and flirty and, and I didn't matter. And she'd schlep me around with these other men like my mom did with the coach or the teacher. So I don't know the exact dynamics, everything. It was a long time ago. And plus the other one was a different life altogether. Plus, when Jesse represented it, like I said, it got all tangly and I didn't understand it all the way. And I'm probably missing some parts, but it doesn't matter because it served its purpose and it brought me that healing. And and if any of you, I got a lot of support for that, not so much some public support. I appreciate that because that encourages other people to share their story too. But I got a lot of private messages too. And anytime I publish a video, I know I did the right thing because there are plenty unpublished videos too, plenty of messages unsent, plenty of things that don't go through and stay private. So when I actually publish something, I feel like it was the right thing to do, that I was, encouraged to do so from Fairy Girl. So anybody that learned from my experience with Jesse, you've shown me much gratitude. And I know that some people have expressed gratitude to him and his, his writings in the groups. But, just send a little bit of energetic gratitude his way because it can't have been easy for him. I don't know if he listened to this. He may, these messages he may, but if he did, it can't have been easy for him. And I did I absolutely cut him off. I said, I realized through my continued inner work that you represent an oppressor to me, and we probably won't ever see or speak to each other ever again, at least not for a long, long time. So I didn't really apologize to him, but I did explain to him and I did tell him, I did all this stuff about telling him I didn't want him at my event, and I did refund his money. So that's all squared away, but that can't have felt good to him. So if it helped you, then be grateful, this video, be grateful to him also for being the one to, so, he signed up for it. He publicly allowed this story to be told in a public way. He did it himself and I did it as well. We just decided, and I'm sure it was, encouraged from above. And because some people, like, I'll use Charlie Goldsmith as an example, and I'm not going to get into the right or the wrong of it, but when the Black Lives Matter, he had a little bit of controversy, and I think most of the spiritual community, most of you watching this will know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I feel like that was not an accident. It was an opportunity for people that, follow him, are influenced by him, to have these triggers and to learn and grow and evolve in a public way. So there were people that are actually interacting on the thread and, in the controversy. And then there are those that are observers. But even though, so it just looks like it's Charlie Goldsmith and some of his followers, but really that ripple effect's big. So people that choose to air out their healing and growth in this public way understand that it's a contract to help many. So I gotta, give us both points for that. This isn't always easy. It's very cathartic for me, but I'm sure it just doesn't feel good knowing that, that to me, he represents like a sex offender rapist, when in reality, I was like, in his reality, probably I was the first girl he ever loved. And, and this is how he gets treated. This is what he gets for all his hard inner work. But again, don't forget, and I'm going to emphasize this, that if anybody feels like, I'm a shit for, airing our laundry out in public like this, again, it was a choice that we both made. And we are victims to no one ever. Anything that ever happens to us, ever, him, me, you, everybody, you either chose to experience this for your own evolution, or you agreed to play a role for somebody else for their evolution. So you are never, ever a victim. If you don't like what happened to you, then you got nobody to blame but your own higher self. And when you're done blaming them for all the bullshit they put you through, then try to figure out why, because there's definitely a reason. There's something that, there's a lesson to be learned. There's a way to grow and evolve through every challenge that we experience. So, Jesse and I we're not going to match in this lifetime, but through that relationship and experience we had, as challenging as it was, we're both going to grow into better people, better versions of ourselves. We will have shed some layers, and I'm confident that he will too. So let me tell you a little bit more about that whole dynamic. And I want to go back to the thing with Heather when she decided to unfriend him for me. And she told me months ago, and I can't remember when it was. I can't remember if it was when the pandemic had started or not. So I don't remember if the prediction was based on our original April date or the extended date to September, which is actually, what's today? Which our event's actually supposed to be next weekend. Aw, it'll happen. So either way, she told me, she goes, I have this feeling that in the future you're going to get really irritated with me, and it has something to do with Jesse. I think what's going to happen is that we're going to be at the event and I'm going to be really nice to him and it's going to bother you. And my response back to her was, actually, it might irritate me, but because of the way I feel about him, I'm going to need other people to be as nice to him as possible and, distract him from me, because I don't feel like I can be that kind. I didn't understand it yet, but I just knew I didn't want him to be anywhere near me. So I can see how her being kind to him was going to irritate me, but I was still welcomed it because I don't want to be ugly to anybody. Anyway, in retrospect, we figured out that it wasn't about the event. It was about what happened right now. I was irritated with her and the way, so anyway, she gets messages in advance because she's tenderhearted in a different way than I am. I mean, I'm so emotional and things just touch me, but I think she has a greater fear of things, things falling apart. So she gets visions and impressions of the future to protect her heart. So when this came up, even though it was just a yucky thing between us, knowing that it was part of our path together, it helps. It just does. It helps alleviate the fears that she has because, one of her things is feeling insecure about people that she loves leaving her. So that was meant to help her, but it also helped us both in retrospect and it didn't take us that long to figure it out. Like when we were in the middle of it is when we both knew what was happening. So, the validation helps too. And we both know we were on the right track and it played out exactly as it was supposed to. So see, sometimes, oftentimes healing is messy business. Actually healing hardly ever feels good. Even being done with it is bittersweet. I'll talk about that a little bit too. Let me see what I got on my list. Okay. So I'm going to switch gears now. I wanted to tell the story about, throwing some energetic gratitude at Jessie. I wanted to talk about Heather, how she knew that whole thing was going to happen between she and I about him, and about how Heather, it was about me and my mom too, about healing that little girl part in me so that I can know I am loved unconditionally by somebody. Somebody's got my back, and it is her. She still doesn't know the amount of gratitude. I told her I'm going to send her the timestamp of that video to watch me, crack open all over for her with my gratitude. Okay, so I want to get back to Michael for a little bit. I have some Michael stories. And I forgot to tell this story. This is back when, he popped back into my life and we were having this exchange, and I wrote him that 5,000 word message. And what happened was I was, my kids are so gross. One in particular, I won't name Josh's name, but anyway, it's Josh. He's so messy. So I have to wash the tablecloth all the time. I was taking it from the dryer, and I got across from the laundry room. I got across through my living room / kitchen. They're right next to each other, into the dining room to put that tablecloth back. And as I'm crossing by, I had bought a watermelon the day before. My watermelon is sitting on the kitchen counter, and for no reason at all, when I walk by, it's moving. It's moving and dancing around all by itself. And my first thought, everybody in our circle would be like, it's Eric. And I sort of thought him, but at the same time, I thought it's Mergerlo. And that's Michael's higher self. It could have been either one of them. It could have been both of them. And let me tell you why. It's been a while. I've shared this story before, but you can see this tattoo I got. I wish I got it the other way because I'm the one that looks at it the most. So it should be really, the alphabet should be facing me. Anyway, it's an E. It's a yin yang watermelon, and the 2 yin yang dots are watermelon seeds, and they're sitting on top of the letter E. And so I like to say that E is for Eric and that E is for energy, but it also comes from the E in Michael's name because he's got those 2 little dots. He likes to be fancy and decorate his letter E. So I got his E right here. And the reason I chose a watermelon is because, I was so desperate always, I'd ask, does Michael love me? Does Michael love me? Does he love me? Does he love me? And one time we were at Lisa's playing the E-board with Robert, and I didn't ask my question out loud. Does he love me? Does he love me? I'm just thinking it. And we're talking to Eric. And with Robert Burke, we're doing the e-board, and Eric spells out the word watermelon. And I had been told in a reading with Justin Schmoyer, long before. I got a lot of my information from him in the beginning, that Michael and I are yin yang. So that was the inspiration to this watermelon yin yang tattoo. And that was Michael. He does have a sweetness about him. He just doesn't communicate very much. And so, and he knew I was desperate. He didn't ever want to be cruel to me. He's a quiet guy, and we knew it was, me healing. It was too outlandish to be anything real. It had to be like from something else, another life, healing to the extreme. So there was never really an expectation of a relationship, although for a long time, I did expect him to come back to me. What I didn't realize was that I wasn't detached yet. So he was never going to come back to me as long as I was still attached. Anyway, so this watermelon starts dancing on my damn counter right in the middle of all. And I want to ask Spirit about that. Whoever I get to talk to next, I'm going to ask about that. Because there is one scientific theory that I'm not going to explore right now. I want to see what Spirit has to say about that. So I just wanted to share that crazy watermelon story and how it was significant. Also, remember in that last video, I spoke about how on August 17th, exactly 6 years after my heart cracked open for Michael, it seems to have healed itself right back up, sealed itself up. And I keep checking in with that. It's been, today's September 10th as I'm recording this. That was August 17th. So it's been 3 weeks. And I'm still in that place of not wanting to have a romantic relationship with him. I'm still in that void of going, I don't know how I feel about him. However, if I think about him and I tap into that energy, I know I absolutely do love him. He is, I've said many times that on the flip side, his higher self is my higher self's favorite. And we have a very special bond. We share an almost identical vibration. And so he's very special to me. So of course I'll have love for him. He's my Mergerlo. In fact, this is like the perfect time. I didn't even know I'd ever get an opportunity to share this. And I like to say all the time, I just decided, or I had an epiphany, or I figured out. But I believe these are downloaded messages. These are nudges. This is channeled impressions I'm getting. And remember, like, here's an example. Remember, I talked about how in the last week's video, I mentioned that in the video before that, I said I picked 2 stories at random to share about my 2 oppressors because I believe these 2 stories were the least offensive to them. That was why I thought I chose them, but they ended up becoming very relevant. Well, you know what? Those were the only 2 stories I thought of. Once I got them in my brain, I was done. So that just makes me feel like she plopped them in there and said, tell these 2 stories. So that is why, and because of that, I believe that my choice to share this little clip was also like a downloaded nudge. And I'm going to tell you what I'm about to share. It's like a 7 or 8 minute clip, and it's of a trance channeling that Heather did for me years ago. I don't know if it was like 3 or 4 years ago. It was before Stardust. It was before Avery. It was when we were first starting to get to know each other. And I was very, very broken still, in the depths of my despair, the depths of my obsession and broken heart with Michael. And she was practicing her trance channeling. And this particular time, I was talking to Heine. And in the video, I call her Fairy Girl. I just got confused and she just let me go with it. Later on, I did call her Heine. But what this video is about, it's so trippy. This is a trippy trance channeling. What it was I'm talking to Heine and I'm just trying to get advice on how do I deal with my broken heart. I'm so crazy about this guy. Help. When is it going to be over? Blah, blah, blah. And then she's like looking over to her side and she's talking to people over there. And I don't know what's going on. And then she starts having like this conversation, like a 3-way conversation, and you can hear her voice change. And I still don't know what's going on, and she hasn't mentioned this in a long time. We'll have to find out what's going on, but she had some kind of heart issue. And when she started like getting weird, I got scared, and we're Skyping and I realized, wonder if she has some kind of heart attack or something. I don't know how to get a hold of Josh. I don't know phone numbers of her family. So I start freaking out and you can see my hands. I'm going like this. I'm sending her energy healing. I'm like, what's happening? What's happening? So what was happening was when she turned her to the side and said, you need to give her a present. She was talking to Mergerlo and they were trying to plan a way in which to swap out Heine for Mergerlo. And they surprised me with the visit from him. And when I figured it out, it's like right at the exact time that he tells me who he is, I was like, and this is my favorite miracle. I have a few favorite miracles. The other contenders are the time that Heather came over here and trance channeled Eric for me, and we climbed right. I have my spare room bed over here. We climbed right up into that bed and spooned. I snuggled Eric through Heather's body. And he was petting me. It was so beautiful. And then, of course, when she trance channels Avery for me, I never really get to have him by myself like that. It's always like at a Stardust event. And one time I did have him alone in my hotel room. My dad was in the next room. It was a big suite. But we tried to do a video, so that didn't even feel like I had him to myself. But I still treasure those moments when I get to connect with him in such a physical way. He's right there talking to me through her. So here was the first miracle she gave me. All of my best miracles are through Heather. So you can see what an impact it had on me. And I speak often about when my heart chakra gets squeezed and I get frozen and drool. Because I'm interacting through a video, I'm staring at the video. But usually when that happens, I'm like, I call it my Jesus position. My arms are out and I'm receiving, sending energy. And I'm like, just my mouth is open and I'm drooling. I can't breathe. And I'm curious. I don't get a lot of interaction because I know I'm guilty. I don't put out much interaction. I have been trying to do a little bit better. I can't make any promises, but I do really appreciate the comments and the encouragement. So if you have something to say about my super duper magic miracle moment, I would love to hear your take on that experience. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to stop this video and then I'm going to, later on edit in that clip from 3 or 4 years ago. But right now I'm just going to stop it and then restart because I have something what's next in my journey. I'm very excited about, and I want to give you like a little preview of what's next. I think you're going to be excited too. Okay, so check out this video of me with my surprise meet with Mergello and watch me lose my motherfucking shit and come unglued. Whew. It's so strange that that was like the level of my obsession. And now I'm like, I do care about him. And I guess it is my true preference that we do get to have a friendship one day, but I'm really not pining away for him anymore. If he came knocking on my door for a romance, I'm really not sure if I'd accept it. I don't think I would. I would accept a friendship, but I'm not interested in a romance with him right now. And that's so huge because part of my obsession has been about, the romance parts too. Not just loving him, but all that goes on with that. And that's just gone. Okay, so stick around. I'll be right back, okay? I'll be back in 7 or 8 minutes. Hang on. Wait! I forgot to tell you something. I just reviewed that chunk of it. And it won't feel complete to me. These are like this is almost like my story. It's my story. And I gotta have this sentence in or it's incomplete. But I started to say how, I started to tell about the watermelon story and I showed the tattoo, and watermelon has become like a significant theme for me. I have a watermelon beach towel and watermelon socks and a watermelon shirt and a watermelon charm on my Pandora bracelet, and just watermelons to honor that story from the e-board. And what Michael did, this is the part I forgot. And I said that, he had compassion for me and he didn't ever want to be cruel to me. So what he did was, because, he didn't share my feelings for me, but he was sweet. He did, like I said, he had a sweetness about him. So our exchange back and forth, instead of, him saying that he loves me, or, I always told him I loved him, but we found like a happy medium, and I would say, I watermelon you, and he'd say, I watermelon you. It's so juvenile, but I needed it. And don't forget that my heart got broken as like a young teenage girl. So teenage interactions appeased me. So I had to throw that part in. That's one of the reasons I told the story, was because of that sweet little exchange of I watermelon you. All right, so now on to this video in which I just love on him so much. Okay, check it out.
If you want, I won't get technical with you, so it is the latter.
I
The
mean,
other, second one.
okay, so I'm not jacking myself up. I'm just on course.
Well, in a way you are, but firm.
Okay. All right. So do I have any advice on how to not be so heartbroken for him? Or I'm just
You just need to let it go. You need to let it. Stop trying to fight it.
fight what?
Your feelings. Just let them flow through and feel heartbroken.
How
Does
come
that
it
make sense?
takes yeah, how come it takes so long?
Because that's just how you are. Keep trying to ask yourself, when is this over? When is this going to be done? In the way, that's you fighting it. Just let it go through. But also, hold on, I'm working on it. In a way, I want you to also focus on positives. Don't think about what you're lacking with him. Don't think about, oh, it should be this way. It could be this way. He should be like this. No, just accept what is.
Okay.
Accepting it, that's what I mean by going with the flow.
Okay.
Accept what you're feeling, accept how the relationship is, because that will help you so much more. And then focus on the positives that you have in your relationship. What's good? What do you have? Don't focus on the lack. Focus on what you have, which is this fucking amazing connection that no other fucking human being understands or can even comprehend. It's
Really?
amazing. Yes, it's totally unique. Don't fucking forget
It is unique, huh?
it.
I know it is. I want to know if he knows it is. He doesn't know yet, does he? He
He
doesn't.
does in a way, but he hasn't, not to the level that you're at. Sweetheart, he's very slow.
Fairy girl, even though he's really busy right now and fucked up in his own world, is he mad at me? Does he still? I want somebody to tell me that he loves me. Tell me again.
He is not mad at you. And oh, you should give her a gift. Okay, so okay. He wants me to tell you, this is his higher self talking, that he can never be mad at you, no matter how hard he tries. Sometimes he wants to blame you for things, but he can't blame you.
Why? Because Bergella won't let him?
No, because his higher self can't ever get mad at you. His physical being can't get mad at you either. It translates. It connects.
I sure can get mad at him, though, can't I?
Um,
Okay, I see it.
I don't think she can handle it.
Okay, baby, you go ahead and set her free. Thank you, Heini. I love you.
No, not that.
Oh no, what's happening? What's happening?
Well, let me focus. Oh, heart's going. I need to have you step out. Because you met. Don't hurt me. What should I say? Should I say a surprise? I won't be able to stay long. It's me. Merculo, you call me. And I can't stay long. I'm too the higher. It's her heart's beating way too fast.
Oh gosh, okay.
But real quick is something that I want to see you personally that nobody else would be able to translate well enough. I love you, and I'm sorry for the way that I am and the way I need to be. It's what I need to do for you, and it hurts me. And I don't. For seconds, I don't have to feel it, but sometimes I choose to cling on to the pain because I feel as though it's my way of connecting to you better, feeling like it's worth it, and don't ever doubt, don't doubt it. And I'm sorry, I don't talk enough. That's just who I am, and I won't fix that. So you will just accept. Is that something you can do for me? Tell me you love me.
I love you. I love you with everything that I am. I love you and I miss you and I love you. I love you. I can't wait to go back to you. I love you.
I wish you were here with me. But this is how it needs to be. Can you accept it?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I,
Thank
I have to go.
you.
I
Okay,
have
bye. I
to
love
hurt.
you. Don't hurt her.
Fucking shaking. My whole body's twitching.
That was Mugello.
I'm
He's too high vibrational. He made your body jack up.
fucking shaking. I can't stop. Okay. Thanks. My higher self is just saying, like, everyone back up. Well, you got to talk to him. You're welcome.
I whole thing was about me. I didn't ask anything about you. It was just
No, don't worry about it.
Heather, I'm gonna let you go and just recoup, and I'm gonna go do the same, okay?
Okay. All right.
Thank you. I'll tell you about it more later, okay? I love
Oh,
you. Thank you.
I love you too. All right.
Okay, I'm back. What'd you think? That's pretty powerful stuff, wasn't it? Well, let me go ahead and I mentioned, when I started that, before I started that video, that I keep checking in to see what my feelings are for him, and I'm still in that void. I think she just put that on pause. And you know what? And by she, I mean fairy girl. And she still has the power to control my love dials, my aversion dials, my, all of these dials. Maybe that's what I'm calling my gut intuition. I don't know. But I'm wondering if I give her too much power, if I keep thinking she's in charge of my love dials, because so far she has been. That's my filter. But maybe I as Carrie, as her incarnate right now, maybe I am to learn to claim some of that power and choose to love or not love people, because guess what else happened? Because I started to poke around with Michael, and then, I told you I got that big urge to write him. I had that watermelon shaking around. So I decided to go ahead and write him. And because of that interaction, I came to a place of being set free of him in that way. So I'm also poking around, seeing what's up with Fairy Boy, because I was in that place of void with him too. Well, not anymore. I shouldn't have poked around because I do see that I'm still tethered to him and I still have feelings for him, and I don't mind that so much. I enjoy him. As far as a twin flame bullshit relationship goes, he was fairly pleasant. Every time something happened with him, I wasn't pissed off and broken down. It was more like, oh, it's happening again. And by then I already understood that, we are never victims. I understood that this was a script I created. So it was more like disappointed resignation, but also I got that I had, crossed another threshold. So I don't have like all of the, the anger and disappointment. Well, a little disappointment, but not the anger that I had with Michael. And I did have disappointment, but again, it wasn't like the serious heartbreak. There was some of that. There really was at the beginning. But once I started to figure things out and heal and cope with things in more productively, it became a lot easier. And he communicated a lot better than Michael did. Michael never deceived me or lied to me or anything, but because he didn't talk to me, my imagination would go wild and I'd be thinking again, oh, we're on our way to a relationship. No, but Fairy Boy was always clear about where he stood with me. So it was always just easier with him. Anyway, because I still, carry a bit of a torch for him, I kind of feel like I still have some inner work to do. And that's where my disappointment lies. Because now I have a frame of reference of what it feels like to be done with a twin. And because I still have feelings for him in that way, I feel like I'm not done. So I'm kind of racking my brain trying to figure out what possible inner work can I still have? What heartbreak can this boy create for me still that I have to overcome? And I only have one theory, and I'm going to share that right now because that has to do with what's next for me. And I'm so very excited about this. I've never been excited about inner work, but I'm excited about this one. And I'll tell you later on how I think he plays into it. It could just be, it could be a stretch, but whatever. Okay, so next on my list is my body and my self-image. And I've had so many clues about this, and I don't know about chronology. I'm just going to throw shit out there. But on that same reading I had, that New Year's Eve resolution reading that I had back in December, I believe it was Voltaire and Pierre. I'm pretty sure it was them. It doesn't matter who it was. Told me that in a year from now, which was December, I will know exactly what my body needs. I'll still want to eat a cheeseburger and I'll still want to eat pizza. I just won't crave it like I do now, and I won't go overboard. I'll know exactly what I need. And another hint I got about that was that I was going to do like a fad diet. And that just didn't sit well with me. I'm not a fad diet kind of girl necessarily. I did the keto thing. And to me, that, I guess that could be construed as a fad diet, but I also feel it's very effective. However, that is a method to lose weight. That is a method to diet. That is a method that deals with physical biology. It doesn't necessarily deal with the psychology behind the reasons for the weight. And remember, and then I have to go back again. So anyway, wait. So when they're telling me it's a fad diet, I also got this little thing from Michelle when I did the reading with Michelle. She had mentioned that Voltaire said that pretend you want to manifest to go meet Oprah. Well, in my overthinking, I believed that clue meant a couple things. I believed it had to do with the fad diet being revamped. Who does Oprah represent? She represents Weight Watchers. And I'd already had tried that Noom thing, and they told me I was going to try one thing, then another thing, and go back and forth. So, I was still in a place of believing what they said all the time. So I went back and forth between Noom and Weight Watchers. I ended up liking Noom better, but it became like, I don't know, I felt like I was paying all this money just to weigh in, and I didn't even really give a shit, and I wasn't losing weight. But they did have a lot of good information, but I just felt like I could just find that online somewhere. I researched enough. So I quit that. And so my next theory was, so I thought that was the fad diet, Weight Watchers. So then, Heather said, I feel like it's like paleo. So I kind of went with that. That sounded reasonable too. Paleo sounds like a really good plan. It's all natural, unprocessed stuff. So I could eat most of the things I liked. Meat, fruit, whatever. You just can't have the processed stuff. But I never had the motivation. And at the beginning of the quarantine, Eric told me, I did have a reading, and he said that, you're too hard on yourself. He goes, just don't worry about the diet right now. This is a time to enjoy your food, not realizing that the quarantine was coming and that we were all going to kind of self-soothe through our snack eating. And I even think that's okay. We all either gained the quarantine 14 or the COVID-19. I might have done a little bit more than that. I'm not sure. But it's okay that we all put a little weight on, because sometimes food can serve as a medicine. If you want to self-soothe in that way, just understand that there is a side effect, and that might be weight gain. So I was like, that's just what's happening right now. I was confident that something was going to come up. He said, enjoy your food for the next few months. I also knew that I couldn't be dieting when I was in the middle of all of it was radical. It was like really intense inner work. Because I just got done telling you like 15 minutes ago or something, how many layers I had peeled, how many lessons and how much shit I shed from that one experience with Jesse. So there was a lot of inner work going on. I couldn't think about dieting too. So then once I finished with that stuff with Jesse, I would I'd pray. I would beg and pray and set intentions and solicit help from Fairy Girl and my guides to lead me on a path in which to, start my weight loss stuff, because I have gained and I'm not comfortable in my skin. Well, I have put two and two together. My old diet that the guides are talking about that's been revamped into a new fad doesn't have anything to do with a Weight Watcher diet or a Noom diet or a keto diet. In fact, it has nothing to do with any diet at all. I am never ever going to diet again. The reason I'm going to still eat cheeseburgers and pizza, but not as much, and know exactly what my body needs when it needs it, is because I'm going to master intuitive eating. This is what the guides brought to me. I'd never heard of this. And the reason it's an old diet with, a new fad of an old diet is because before modern society, whenever that started, began putting rules on us, we ate when we wanted to eat. We didn't eat by the clock. We didn't eat before we had to go to work. We didn't eat when the lunch bell rang. We didn't eat when the dinner bell rang. We ate when we were hungry. We didn't eat what the diet books told us to eat. We ate what our body craved. And this is kind of funny. Hang on, I'll tell you that funny part in a minute. But my husband, okay, so, and I'm going to call it a diet, but I don't mean diet. Eating plan, but I'm going to use the words, diet, just because it's easier. So this new diet has to do with eating way before, we had these restrictions. And think about when you were like a toddler. That was probably the last time you ate with complete abandon before society told you what you needed to eat and when you needed to eat it and equated some kind of value with every single thing you put into your mouth. This is healthy, I'm a good girl. This is unhealthy, I'm a bad girl. Judgment with every single bite. You get on the scale, you gain a pound, you're bad. You get on the scale, you lose a pound, you're good. You go up a size, you're bad. You go down a size, you're good. We are such a society that values small, but we're not all small. We're not all one size fits all. You know what I mean? So the example I'm trying to give my husband was, like bears. I said, bears, they just eat what they want when they want. If they want salmon, they go eat a fish. When they want berries, they go eat berries, and they eat until they're satisfied. And my husband said, yeah, but bears are fat. And I'm like, you have a point there. However, the main purpose of intuitive eating is not to have a goal of a certain weight, but to be the perfect size for your body. So if a bear is meant to be big, fat, and fluffy, then he eats enough food to make him the perfect size for himself. And not all bears are the same size. Some bears are bigger, some bears are littler. So you don't expect the smaller bear to, eat the same amount or be the same size as the bigger bear because they're different sizes. So that's how we are. And at the very beginning of, well, not even at the beginning of my journey, but my whole life, I've always struggled with weight. And I didn't know if my answer was to lose enough weight to be a size that I was comfortable with or become comfortable in the skin I was in. And ultimately, I would prefer both. But to be honest, I don't ever want to diet again because, as I've mentioned before, I'm on a path of independence. I am independent of expectations I place on others or external circumstances that I cannot control. I am free of expectations put on me by others or myself. I am independent. All these things I'm independent of. I already listed them, but I can't believe how much food and eating still has me in shackles. I am not independent of the rules of food. So part of this, I'm so excited about this. Part of this intuitive eating, this is like the great part. This is the honeymoon phase of this diet, is to not only break all of the eating rules you've ever known. You don't just break the rules, you annihilate them. It's not like you're breaking them today, but you'll go back to them tomorrow. You're going to break these rules and never ever have them again. And I cannot tell you how liberating it was to eat with complete abandon. It wasn't like it was Christmas and I'll get back on my diet on January 1st. No, because that's still a rule and a restriction. And when you put those rules and restrictions on yourself, what do? You eat everything because that freedom's almost gone and you got to go back to food jail. You got to go back into those shackles of the rules. But when you realize that you can have that slice of pie tomorrow or even next week, and if you really want to, you can buy one on February 3rd and eat that pumpkin pie then. You can do whatever you want. And when you get to that point, you don't have that mentality of the binge. Hurry up before it's all gone. And before your chance is all gone. And I've recognized so many ways in which, like one of my things is that I can't stand for food to be wasted. And I'm also very cheap. So like when I should be embarrassed to talk about this, but I'm not. Like when we go out to dinner with like Elisa and Carrie Walker, and either of those two women, they don't eat very much. So they would leave half their plate, and I don't know what their problem is, but they're not into leftovers. I love leftovers. So I would either take their food home, or if there's just a little bit, I'd eat off their plates. I can't stand for waste to happen. I don't know if that's, plus they would get the fancy food. I'd get the salad, and Elisa would get the salad with the salmon. So she'd get halfway through her salmon and say, I'll take her salmon. It's really good. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's a money issue or a food issue. Was Mariana like deprived of food in a past life? Did she have pressure to be skinny and beautiful? Like, like a modern day model or something? That's another thing. I want to talk about Mariana just for a second. For the longest time, I was believing that past life with that I was supposed to put Fairy Boy's face on. And the guy kept giving me, iron necklaces, whatever it was. It was my life with Jesse, the represent, whatever it was. Well, I didn't put together that was Mariana, but God, that makes so much sense because Fairy Girl said she liked dressing up and she liked fancy things. Well, of course. And it's so funny because, I probably did it like every business night. But of course a hooker's going to want to be pretty. She's going to want to attract her man. I like being pretty too. I only do it for these videos and the rare occasions that I go out with my friends. Sarah gets me with dirty hair and shit. But this is really the only time I get to dress up. And I like to too. So I can kind of identify with the way she likes to feel pretty. That's funny. So I am her. I wonder if I even looked like her. When I had my past life regression and I saw Eric sitting on the bed, in my vision, he very much looked like Eric, but that just could have been for my benefit. I don't know. Okay, so back to this diet thing. So I'm just convinced. And one of the reasons it's easy for me to have this abandon of just eating is because I've had these messages from Spirit telling me that this is my path and I will figure it out. Fairy Girls also told me, she goes, you're going to lose about 10 to 15 more pounds and then you're just going to decide, that's it, I love myself the way I am. And that's what I really want. That's what I really want because I don't want to struggle with diets anymore. I don't want to have rules. I want to be independent of any kind of rules that are placed on me from external places. I just can't believe how ingrained that is in me. And I got to admit, I have put on some weight since I started this. I refuse to look at a scale, but my clothes are fitting tighter. If I didn't have clothes, old clothes that I'm putting on and I didn't realize they were tighter though, I wouldn't notice. So the reasons that I feel fat are because I stand on the scale and it tells me I got fat. Or because I put on my clothes and they're tighter and they tell me I got fat. So still these external things are telling me. So it's my goal to feel comfortable no matter what size I am. If I'm that bear storing up for my hibernation or if I'm the bear at the end of winter when I'm all skinny. I want to be comfortable no matter what weight I am in. If I might hibernate around Christmas or Halloween or my birthday. But then I'll take a nap and chill out. I don't know. I don't want to have any kind of rules put on me ever again. And I would prefer to be on the chubby side than on the dieting and restrictive side. I'm done with that. I've joined these support groups online or whatever, and I'm reading it and in like the comments and the questions and stuff. And I kind of feel like I'm a little bit ahead of the game in a way because I have accepted that I will gain some weight. And if I never lose it, then I'm just meant to be that big fluffy bear. So I will retrain my brain to accommodate whichever me I am. But, the retraining also does come with learning how to feel fullness, learning how to realize I'm satisfied without overdoing it, because right now I'm either hungry or I'm not thinking about food or I'm totally full. I haven't yet slowed down and become aware and conscious of, okay, well, you're starting to get a little bit full. Let that settle. So not that I want to restrict myself, but I want to train my body to recognize its signals. So eat whatever I want, whenever I want, but just realize, do I really want this? Or am I mindless eating? Am I emotionally eating? Am I eating because I don't want that salmon to go to waste? Whatever it is, I want to figure it out and deal with it. That was a lot of talking just about intuitive eating. Thank you. That was very cathartic. And I wanted to get that out of my system because I'm also going to do a video with Denise. She's the one I originally did this retrain your brain for the sake of dieting and weight loss, not even realizing that it had anything to do with intuitive eating. So out of the blue, Denise messages me and she says, I just paid you $50 because I want to hire you for a healing session. I love your sparkles and your swirls. And I was thrilled by this. Most of my clients are not my friends, or if they are, they're like freebies or exchanges or whatever. So most of my clients are people I don't know. So I was excited to work with somebody that I loved. And it just feels good to love on my people. So I said, coincidentally, I've been thinking about you because I wanted to invite you to do a follow-up. And not only did she help me with that first, weight loss video, but she's the one that actually provided the clue for me through spirit that when I taste the color pink, I will know that I've reached a certain level of healing. And if you don't know that story, to just like shrink it down for you, I didn't know what that meant, taste the color pink. Well, I figured out that when you pee on a stick, when you're in ketosis, it changes colors to various degrees of pink. So when you pee on it and it turns pink, that means you're in ketosis. Well, ketosis also like has like makes a yucky taste in your mouth. I don't know why, like a not good sweet taste, if that makes sense. So I was tasting that nasty taste, and that was another validation that I was in ketosis. So, and then the light bulb went off. It tastes like the color pink. So she's provided that clue with weight loss. And then get this. So I'm telling her, how coincidental that you show up now, because I'm on this new kick. And I sent her a link of what the people I've been drawn to in this intuitive eating. And she says, this is, extra sinky because this is what I'm learning about. And she sends me a link, and it's the same principle, but a different approach sort of. And it's this guy, like the Gerald method or something. I don't know. But he says you meditate 10 minutes a day. I don't know what what it is, but she's been listening to him. And it's the same concept that you're retraining your brain and setting intentions and deciding that you're not going to be a slave to food anymore. So again, she's doing it in her own way. And so here we are coming together at the same time. So we're going to do a video and investigate this and ask spirit questions. About this. I want to get pointers, because right now I've totally mastered this eat whatever the fuck you want. I do still see how I get guilty though. Like I went to go get I was making my kid lunch and I saw like a package of flour tortillas, and I'm such a sucker for flour and lard, and these were infused with butter too. So I was like, no, I can't have that. It's 11 o'clock at night. And I went, oh, yes, I can, because I am here to annihilate rules. So I ate that tortilla and I was like gleeful. No rules, no restrictions. So I want to tell this story to get it out of the way so that when I talk to Denise, I don't have to have all this pre-story. All right, I think that's it. Let me check my notes. Let me see here. All diet creator. Oh, and one last thing. Okay, so and just to recap that whole diet thing, that is the original way we used to eat. So it's the old way of eating, and it's become a fad diet. These two women, and I'll get their names for the next one, created intuitive eating back in 1995. So that's where it's becoming a fad, in that more and more people are jumping on and realizing that they don't need to be a slave to all of these motherfucking rules all the time. Okay. Okay. All right. So the last thing I wanted to talk about, and this is a short one. I think at some point I might do a whole video on it if I get enough information. But for now, I'm always like comparing life to my kids' Minecraft. And usually I say that, they're playing split screen. And even though they're in the same game, in the same world, they can be having completely different realities. And I would describe this as to like people who, okay, well, let's just go with the coronavirus because it's still relevant. The entire planet is experiencing the coronavirus, but some of us live in the reality where it's been a real tragedy and a huge growth experience and very terrible and scary and painful and, death sometimes. And are those all experiences? I'm just going with A and B for now. And the experience I have had has been nothing but mostly joy. I've bonded with my kids. I've had a lot of downtime. We've baked cookies. We've grown. We've turned into big fluffy bears. But it has been a very positive experience for me, except for homeschooling and math. Besides that shit, it's been really nice. So again, same game, same Minecraft game. These people are playing in this screen and I'm playing in this screen. And we can actually cross paths in each other's games, but we have completely different realities. So going back to this Minecrafting theme, I love that part of the theme. But I feel like all of the healing up to this point has been survival mode. And I've just been undoing all this shit and giving things up and letting go and healing from past traumas. I don't know if I have any more traumas. I might, because, they don't surface until a trigger meets you. So I feel like I am now on the cusp of creator mode. And I almost feel like even though, I've had these little hits planted, and so it's probably in my path, I still can't take anything at their word anymore because I've been so broken of believing everything they say. But when I do get a message from the guides, it's either true or it's not true. So it is possible that all of, these all this stuff's going to happen. But I feel like because I am excited about it and I'm actively seeking it, I feel like I am now in creator mode. I'm going to create a relationship with food that feels good to me. I've never been excited about inner work. So let me wrap this story up, my survival mode into creative mode on my life crafting game. And because I forgot to say it before, that the reason I think I might still be tethered to Fairy Boy is because I have made no secret about how attracted I am to him and how pretty he is. He's young and he takes care of his body and he's so yummy. And so me being this big old round Oompa Loompa girl, I have a complex about him in particular. And I'm always going to have a complex about my body. I don't care if I'm comfortable being like a big fluffy bear or, the post-hibernation bear, wherever I'm at, I'm still scarred and misshapen. I'm almost 50 years old. I grew humans in me and stretched my body out and had them cut out with sharp blades. I even grew an alien in me. I'm going to grow more aliens in me. I've had all these surgeries. So my body, I just didn't contract to be a runway model. And because of that, it stands to reason that I'll have shyness. There's a difference between being ashamed and being shy. I'm not ashamed of who I am. I know that there are reasons for the body I have. And again, I'm a victim to no one. There's a reason why I chose to be this cute little round ball of sweetness. Do you like that? You like that rewiring of my brain? So I feel like the reason I'm still tethered to the sky is that when I quit feeling shy to be with him, that will be an indication that I have accepted myself enough to, I don't know, I'm getting with this. I don't know if that's a theory or not, because being ready for him does not equate letting him go like I let Michael go. So maybe something else will cause me to let him go. Maybe, Fairy Girl will flip my switch. Oh, that's another thing. Sorry, I got to add this little bit. So I started to say that I give Fairy Girl too much power for flipping my switches. Well, I was told a long time ago that one of the lessons I am to learn, or skills I am to acquire, is to learn how to be in control of my own heart. So maybe I am to consciously choose to not love him. That's not something I've been able to do yet, because as I said, the switches flip off and on. And I do go to the place where I choose to let that go, because I don't want any more inner work. It's not that I don't like him. It's not that I don't want to spend time with him. I would, but I don't want to do any more inner work. So maybe the inner work is actually choosing to not love him. I don't know, but I still do. And in that video, when Heine told me to just accept your feelings for what they are and go with it, don't fight it, don't deny it. So that's where I'm at right now. I'll figure it out. Okay, you guys, thank you again for allowing me to learn and grow, and stay tuned, because coming up, I'm going to have that video with Denise where we're going to get the information on intuitive eating and how to never ever diet ever again. No more guilt, no more shame, no more judgment and value on everything you put in your body, wear, scales, anything. You're going to be done with that. Sweet freedom. And then I still am going to have Heather on the show where we're going to trance channel Maurice, who was Eric in the brothel. He was my love interest. And we're going to find out why he died on me, how that affected me exactly. And is that really the reason that I had so much work this time around? I have so many questions for him. And I think I would like to talk to Mariana again, too, now that I understand a bigger picture of her life and the way we're tangled together. So look forward to those 2 episodes. I sure do. All right, you guys. Thank you. See you later. I'm so irritated with myself because I forgot something else. That last one, I put that watermelon thing in right at the right time. But I don't know how to stick this part in the right place. So it's just have to be tacked on at the end. Okay, so rewind back to when I was talking about Fairy Boy. So what happened, I can't believe I forgot this part. I started to wonder if I had feelings for him too. So I started poking around there, and it turns out I still did. And as I'm thinking about him, I'm getting this urge to write him, because the last time I communicated with him, I felt I wanted to explain to him why I was unfriending him. That whole Aboriginal thing and jumping off the cliff to spare myself a broken heart waiting for him to, push me off and hurt me. So there was that part. But then the other thing I told him was I told him about my experience with Jesse being my reflection. And I did this in an in an effort to try to help him. Because if I were to be part of his inner work, look, I got these things, I don't need them. If I were to be part of his inner work, then it was a reasonable possibility that I was a reflection of him. I was basing all of this off my own experience as what I believed. I was the runner in the twin flame relationship, the runner and the chaser. I thought we were going to follow that same dynamic in the reverse. But no, again, just to reiterate, I was always only meant to feel that way until I got to a place of deciding I don't give a shit if this is what this is. I'm not doing it. Okay, so when I started poking around with him, and realized I had feelings, I also wanted to write him and tell him that I was wrong in my assessment about Jesse being a mirror. So now I'm letting him know he wasn't a mirror for me, so I'm probably not a mirror for you. I have no idea. I still don't know if he's going to do inner work through me or not. But so I thought to myself, well, I'm kind of feeling the urge to write him and tell him this. It wasn't a strong urge. It wasn't like it was with Michael, where I was like, I got to write him my 5,000 word message. So I had such success with that because at the end of the exchange between Michael and I, that switch flipped and I was done with him. So I'm thinking, I'm going to do this again. Actually, I'm getting things out of order, but whatever, doesn't matter. I'm already, 2 minutes into this particular clip. So when I wrote him, I was kind of hoping that, well, I wasn't necessarily hoping, I was curious because there's such parallel relationships in many ways, repeated it, that maybe if I communicated with Fairy Boy, that something would happen and another switch would flip either one way or another. I don't know. So I went ahead and tried it and it fell flat. He didn't say anything. He read it right away. So he was interested enough to see what I had to say, but I didn't even get a heart reaction this time. It just fell complete. He pulled a Michael on me. Michael doesn't even pull Michaels on me anymore, but Fairy Boy pulled a Michael on me. And he didn't say anything. And I don't know if I'm just used to being ignored after 6 years of this, or if it's because I have like a bigger perspective and I know what's going on. I don't feel like I'm like pathetic into not be like, well, fuck him. He didn't answer me. I don't need that shit in my life. I don't feel like that. I feel like the reason that he doesn't answer me is because that's just his inner compass telling him not to, whether it's because he's not ready to, or he's just not interested in me, or because he doesn't want to encourage me, or whatever the reason is. I'm just not taking offense. I'm feeling like it's him. For whatever reason, I don't feel like I'm clinging, in other words. I was experimenting and kind of, I had my main reason to write to him was to clear up that mistake. I don't know if it affected him one way or not, but it made me feel better because I don't know, it felt like a typo, like I had made a mistake and I wanted to fix it. But nothing happened. Nothing happened after that. All I realized was that, I am still tethered. I'm so pissed that didn't put that in earlier. So anyway, that's where I stand with him. I'm not in a void. I'm still a little bit tethered. I tried to experiment and see if I couldn't be set free from him, because as much as I enjoy loving him, again, I gotta say, it feels like I got more inner work to do because of it. So I'd rather just be done. Whether or not he's gonna come back, I'd rather just be done. All right. Thanks again for all my little, paying attention and waiting for me to finish up all my little nonsense. I probably didn't need to take 5 minutes to tell that story, but I talk a lot. Okay, thanks guys.